Who would like to lead? Brad, I think you were the first one to laugh. I think you lead in the pledge.
Good. All right. I pledge allegiance
To the
the
flag
flag
of
of the United States of America
and
and
to
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Love it.
All right. Okay. Is there, I know there's a few announcements. We have on Thursday is Red Nose Day. There's a group of us going to Sky Academy from 11 to 1. I think Deb and Patrick, Patrick doesn't know it yet, but he's going to get a little red nose for his mask.
He may.
I don't think that's an option.
He may not know that yet. And then from, I don't have it in front of me, what time in the afternoon at Sky? Or at Boys and Girls Club out at Gulf Cove United Methodist?
4:30.
Okay. So if anyone else is going to be down that way, let me know. But I think right now it's Karen. We have. You guys are doing it.
Julia, are you short for the? Are you short for the 4:30 one?
I think right now it's Karen, me, Deb. Are you going to be at the evening one or no?
Yep.
Okay. So me, Karen, and Deb is it for the afternoon for the Boys and Girls Club and Alfred.
I'm good.
If you would like to come join us for an hour.
That's what I'm thinking. Okay.
It's a little bit closer than the Sky. We have bracelets, the red nose bracelets. We're going to wave. We're just going to be silly and be supportive for the families and just get them excited for Red Nose Day. That's the main goal.
Are we supposed to wear red noses over our masks?
I have them if you want them.
We have some, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to attempt to sew mine on, so I will take a picture and let you know how it looks.
Okay.
Wear your People of Action shirts.
Okay.
Yes.
Wait, I'm going to come to the, I'm sorry to interrupt. I didn't realize my mute was on before. I'm talking away. I need to get a t-shirt.
I have the
Go to
t-shirt.
the 11 o'clock one.
Okay.
I can pick it up from you then?
Yep.
Yeah, if you want to do that, or my office is 508 North Indiana, right next to Babe's Hardware on the north end of town. Are you on the north end or south?
Englewood on Massachusetts.
In Grove City.
Okay, well then I'll just bring it to the thing and you can throw it on over a tank top.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Any other announcements? Thoughts, questions?
I missed my grandkids.
That's a good announcement.
I'm sorry. Here's my $1.
There you go.
There you go.
We can do PayPal and take fines.
Yeah, we can do that. Credit card swiper, yeah.
What about the jokes? Have the kids?
We haven't gotten any. Haven't gotten any feedback from the schools.
Okay.
I haven't heard back anything from Mark either.
I think it was too much.
So hopefully they're sharing that with each other in the schools.
I'll send an email to Carrie and see how it's going.
Yeah. See how well it's being received. Now I did have, I got a call from the Elks. They are open. Deb and I are going to meet with them tomorrow about seeing if we can lay out terms to where it'll be safe and work for everybody. Raise a hand. How many would be not willing to go to an in-person meeting?
Yet?
Yeah, because I think
not quite yet.
Yeah. Well, our thought was this. Our thought was probably the third week in June would be the first one, just to give it a few more weeks of this reopening and see how it goes. And then we would schedule an in-person meeting, assuming everything looks okay. That was kind of our thought.
That's good.
Now, the other caveat to that is when we go there, I mean, one of the reasons we're meeting him there is we want to see what their setup is, how they've arranged it, so that we know firsthand what it looks like. It may not be conducive to what we want to use. So, we'll know more after we meet with him tomorrow.
The nice part is, though, they had usually enough vacant tables that we could still spread out people at about 3 per table, and we still would have been able to cover most everybody.
That would be my thought. That would be my thought, Brad. About 3 per table and spread them out over the whole room.
Yep.
Right.
You know,
That was mine
it's
too.
just common sense.
That was mine too. My thought was, did they clean and sanitize?
I'm sure they
Supposedly
did.
they have, and they will clean and sanitize everything
Every time.
before we come
That's why
in.
we got to see it.
But
Well, look at the ceiling while you're there.
they're not going to do any buffet. They'll have 2 options, like a salad, soup and salad, or a soup and then a hamburger or a sandwich or something. Keep it really simple and have a couple choices, and that's it. So we'll work out the details and we'll touch base with you guys. I just wanted everyone to know there is light at the end of the tunnel that we might be able to meet. Our Tracy was going to come as well, and we're going to try to work on seeing how we would Zoom a live meeting, so that I know Tracy's taking care of her parents, so she's not really in a position to be able to come to a live meeting. So maybe she can be the Zoom host and help facilitate and make sure it's flowing well and that whoever's online can actually hear. So we'll see how we can work that out. But I think they have a lot of little kinks to work out before we do it.
Well, if I may, I know that they're looking to sanitize all the air conditioning ductwork and coils and all of that before they allow people in.
That's good.
We're just working on that now. So I know that part will be clean.
Okay.
I can guarantee that.
Progress.
Big job.
Baby steps.
Yeah. There's like 17 units there.
Yeah, baby steps.
Yeah, they have a lot of units.
Yeah.
It's big.
Yeah.
Alfred brought an opportunity to me. He sent an email to, I think, a few board members, not everybody. Alfred, would you like to share what you would like to do with the American Legion? Do you hear me?
Are you awake?
Did you hear the pledge?
They're frozen.
He's frozen.
Oh.
Snuck out for a beer. Snuck out for a beer.
Is Karen happy for that? That's what I want to know.
Karen, Alfred, you may have to log off and log back in. You are frozen.
He's frozen. May I speak?
Yes.
Okay, so I got a call from Gale, and he talked to Alex from the Casita Club. And, we didn't have S4TL this year or anything, but the S4TL students that went last year this year gotten a certificate and then a sponsorship.
An automaton sound?
Hold on. Let me mute a few people for you. Hold on, Kathy. Go.
Kathy's muted.
Kathy, you're muted. Hold on.
I'm muted? Oh.
Go ahead. You're good. Go.
Unmuted us. We don't need to be. No.
Muted again.
No. No.
There. No. She keeps clicking.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Hear you now.
Oh,
Go.
sorry about that. Okay. So anyway, Gale Daly called me that Alex called him from the Placida Club. And the S4TL students from last year would have gotten certificates and $1,000 check each this year. So they were looking at probably doing like having them for a lunch. We would get with followers or someone to, make sure we're social distancing, because there would be 9 of us. We're under 10. To go ahead and get that done. I was not sure if those funds came from us or the Youth Foundation.
Youth Foundation.
Carol, you're on mute. You're mute. Unmute. Carol.
I didn't know Julia was doing too. At any rate, yeah, we gave the S4TL kids a $1,000 scholarship from EYF. That's what we always do every year. And so the funds came from EYF.
So they already got the checks?
They have been notified by Valerie. All of the scholarship application or all the scholarships that we gave, Valerie was notifying all of them. So they should have been notified. She was intending to do that right after we met. So that was what, 2 weeks ago at least?
Right. So if she hasn't already, can we hold those 2 checks? Because if we have the luncheon, we'll present it to them then.
The checks normally, I don't know how they.
Are they going to the schools?
They normally go to the schools.
Okay, so it would be a fake check.
Right, right, right.
Okay.
Yeah, we were planning on doing something, maybe to have some kind of a Zoom meeting where we had some of the scholarship people there. Julie and I had talked about it. And because the kids always like to tell you, where they're going to school, and it's great for us to get an idea of who we've given these scholarships to. So it'd be great if we could involve, more than just the 2 S4TL kids, in something.
Okay, I'll wait to hear when Carol's supposed to get back to me.
Okay.
Okay. It looks like Alfred and Karen jumped off. Basically, Alfred had gotten approached by Eileen from the newspaper about the Northport American Legion Post was struggling, and they were trying to raise money. They want to sell box lunches. They were looking for a donation of at least $100 from our club to buy as much bottled water and hot dogs as they could. Alfred had agreed to loan use of his grill, and he would be there cooking, and they have volunteers to serve. And they were just interested if we would be interested in participating, just checking to see if anyone would like to contribute or participate or help in any way.
When was this?
Let's get them off of mute. I believe it is next week. Alfred, you're back.
Sorry, we got booted out for some reason.
You froze.
Yep.
That's new.
I was briefly mentioning about the American Legion. Can you provide details?
You know as much as I do. I just sent the email to you.
I'm unclear about, so they need money for drinks and stuff, but you're going to be cooking. So, but then I heard something about box lunches. So I'm confused about.
I'm sorry, who said who's cooking?
Are you cooking?
No, I'm not cooking. No,
Julia said you said you were cooking.
No, I'm not cooking. No,
okay, you forwarded on. Okay.
All I did was forward an email and said they apparently are cooking, and they're just looking.
Okay.
I'm understanding that they were looking for $100 contribution to offset some cost of water and some supplies.
Okay.
Okay.
I misread the email, so I'm glad you spoke. Glad you shared.
Nope, I'm not. The cook is in quarantine. we got the swine flu.
So is everyone in favor to use some, is that it? Any objections, any excitement, any thoughts?
Sounds good to me.
Money wise.
Yeah, we have money in a kitty. That's what.
Very limited.
Box lunches for who?
They're selling them.
They're selling them to raise
The gist
money.
that I got out of the email was that they are apparently teetering on the edge of having to close their doors. So their thought was, and I think because Abby's Donuts and a couple others have done this successfully and put out a cry into the community for support. So they were thinking they could cook these meals and sell them to get them back up to current so that they could continue to run. I don't know how far off they are, how much they need to come up with. I guess that's one question that I would have is what are they looking to fund?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we're supporting
well, you need the
their
information
fundraising.
first.
$100 doesn't go that far.
Yeah, $100 is nothing.
Is this the Northport American Legion?
Yes,
Okay.
They're gonna need a lot more than $100.
they do. They need a lot more than $100. They asked if I would share it and throw it out there and see if there's anyone passionate willing to help.
Your plan is to sell 1,000 meals at $8 for a box lunch.
And try to get all the costs for those meals donated.
Right, for hot dogs and water.
They're gonna sell a hot
It's going to
dog.
be tough to,
Sell a hot dog for
because
$8.
so many people are giving away meals.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to mention that. I'll forward it off to the board and we'll do a vote, but I wanted to throw it out there just so we could talk about it. I don't think there's any other announcements. Let me, I think everyone knows Gale. A lot of people know Gale. Gale West is our speaker for tonight. She joined Toastmasters in 2012. She earned her DTM, which I'm sure she's going to share, tells us what the acronyms are, in 2015 as club sponsor of New Heights Toastmasters. She continues to be a mentor to that closed club. She is a member of Northport Toastmasters, Englewood Toastmasters, the Order of Smedley, an Advanced Toastmasters Club, and she has held officer roles since 2012. She has served as area governor, division director, and is currently area 60 governor. So she seems like quite a busy person and with lots of wisdom to share.
Thank you for that introduction. I'm delighted to be here. And I think the reason we're here is because someone said you want information about communication skills. So let's get. The important thing is to find out, how do you communicate and are you connecting with people? There's been a lot of talking back and forth, and I think that's great. You all are basically talking, but let's look at this right here. Talking is not necessarily effective communicating. Frequently talking is yada, yada, yada. Think about that. You've been to some meetings in the past and there were people talking and you were listening, nodding your head and looking around the room. So you might have heard something that was said, but maybe you didn't focus on what they said. And maybe it'd be a little challenging for you to repeat back what they said. What did they intend to say? Well, let's look at the picture here. We have two pictures. Which of the pictures do you think has the most effective communication? The picture on the top, where you see the two men and the two women are talking. You can almost feel that the lady with the dark hair is nodding her head. They're smiling. They're hearing some good conversation. They're probably talking back and forth. They're exchanging information. The picture on the bottom is what we see all too frequently. People that are there with their cell phones. And I'm sure that you've seen people even at restaurants. So they're sitting together, but they're not paying attention to each other because they're looking at their cell phones. But one of the things that we need to do is to ensure that we are communicating effectively. Now, effective communication occurs when each person is allowed to speak and each person hears and understands the other person. Now, think about that for a minute. When you're in a networking organization or when you're out meeting other people, how do you feel when someone listens to you? Makes you feel good, makes you feel valued. Also think about, you're in a group and you're up there talking to people and someone's looking around the room, they're waving to someone else, they're looking down at their phone. You don't feel as if there's a connection. I also want you to think about the situation. Have you ever interrupted another person to share your point of view? Years ago, I used to be really excited when someone was talking. I could barely wait for them to finish talking before I put in my 2 cents worth because I had something to say. Well, the important thing is we need to listen twice as much as we talk. However, tonight, I'm going to be doing most of the talking, okay? I want you to think about what it feels like if someone interrupts you to finish your sentence or to change this topic. The important thing is to listen, to be present, focus on the person who's speaking. When you get back in person and you're at meetings and you're talking to someone, if you really, really have to leave the conversation, meet someone else, don't just wave across the room. Don't look at your phone. Say, excuse me, I need to talk to someone. Be kind, graciously excuse yourself. Do not look at your phone and glance around the room. Be respectful of others, and they will honor you and your time. Now, effective communication does not mean that you have to agree with the other person. We all have our own points of view. The success of effective communication is based on keeping an open mind when listening to another person, realizing that each of us has our own personal point of view based on our life experiences, based on the way we're brought up, based on our own values. Now, I have found that if I listen carefully to another person, listen from their point of view, sometimes my perception of the topic is broadened and my point of view could be adjusted because now I have new knowledge, information that I did not have before, information that I learned from a different person's perspective. So let's take a moment to look and see, how do you communicate? How do you communicate who you are? What is the method in which you do that? Let's look at communication skills. Before you even say a word, you are being judged and evaluated upon a variety of non-verbal factors. What's your physical appearance? Do you look good? Are you neat and clean? Do you have a smile on your face? Or do you frequently frown? Do you stand tall? Most people don't think about their posture as much. I know when I was growing up, I didn't think all that much about it. And then I saw someone who stood tall and I thought, wow, they have a lot of confidence. What I want you to think about is on a regular basis, when you're in a group of other people, stand tall, head over your shoulders, back straight, as if you're being pulled up. Because when you stand up tall, it gives an air of confidence, even if you don't appear confident. If you stand up tall and straight and you smile, people will be attracted to you. Now, we've said before, clothes make the person. Not necessarily, but people do have a tendency to judge you based upon what you wear. You don't have to be like everybody else. Sometimes people really like to stand out. And as some of you may know, Marie LaBrosse, every time she goes to a function, she wears a different hat. So she's very recognizable. But think about what you want to do as far as presenting yourself. Do you walk with a shuffle? Do you walk briskly? Think about those gestures, because what happens, people base their opinion on you, the way you stand, the way you walk. They're also looking at body gestures. You're going to see all the people that you're talking to now on Zoom. You're going to be more aware of some of their facial expressions. But also, when people are speaking in person, make sure that when you're speaking that your facial expressions match what you want to say. If you're saying something that is emotional and maybe upsetting, you shouldn't necessarily have a smile on your face. But that sometimes when we see the different gestures of people, that gives us a different impression upon them. Other things I'm talking about as far as body gestures, think about the last time you stood in front of a group of people. Did you have your hands in your pocket? Did you have your hands behind your back? Or did you have them clasped in front of you in the fig leaf position? When you're standing in front of an audience, try to stand with your hands relaxed beside you. You can have them raised just a little bit, but be aware of those gestures that you have, because using gestures can really distract people. You're going to notice sometimes when you're on a meeting that if people move their hands too fast, especially if it's on a Zoom meeting, it's very distracting. You can have appropriate hand gestures on Zoom, but they need to be slower gestures. Keep that in mind. Communication skills. At most networking events, and that's what I think when you're going to your meetings, that's basically a networking event. It's an opportunity for you to introduce yourself. Now, how many of you go to the chamber meetings when they've had them? I know several of you gone to, yes, wonderful. And don't most of them often ask you to stand up and tell people who you are? That should be done in a 30 to 40 second elevator speech. Some people go on and on and on, and we're sitting back there and said, okay, get to the point. So what we're looking at is you have an opportunity to tell people who you are in 30 to 40 seconds. And the reason it's referred to as an elevator speech is if you get on the elevator with someone, you want to connect with them. You only have 30 to 40 seconds to make a good impression. So I'm going to give you briefly what I would say as an example of an elevator speech. Do you have glossophobia, the fear of public speaking? Toastmasters has a cure. I'm Gale West, Vice President of Education for Englewood Toastmasters. At every meeting, we allow our members to stand up and talk in front of a supportive group. We realize that the only way to become a more effective speaker, you have to speak. If you want to cure glossophobia, come to Toastmasters. We'll provide you with some great evaluations and provide you with an opportunity to speak. I'm Gale West, Vice President, Education, Englewood Toastmasters. If you would like to know more about Toastmasters, join me by calling me at 941-380-3162. Toastmasters can help you find your voice. So when looking at a Toastmasters meeting, you have Rotary meetings, you have an opportunity to introduce yourselves. I think that we have a couple Rotary members online who said they would be willing to share their elevator speech. So I think Deborah, is it Hegedus? So Deborah, would
of course
please...
you picked me first.
Of course, that's the way I got the information. So let me go ahead and, can you go ahead and speak up for us and tell us a little bit about your, if someone says, tell us about you, what would you say?
Well, what I prepared and kind of leading into my presidential year was we were actually asked to create an elevator speech about Rotary. So that's kind of what I chose to do, if that's okay. So here it goes. What is Rotary? Well, I'm glad that you asked. We are a worldwide community of business professionals and individuals that work together providing humanitarian service to promote peace, fight disease, enhance health, feed the hungry, and to provide clean water, sanitation, education, and grow local economies. Our motto, service above self, reflects the ideals of peace, understanding, and goodwill for all. With over 1.2 million members, we are the largest, most prestigious, non-political, non-religious service organization in the world, with over 30,000 clubs in 200 countries. So you have a friend in Rotary wherever you go. Rotarians are people of action, committed to making a difference in the lives of people in our communities and around the world. We begin right here in our own neighborhoods and encompass the globe. The Rotary Club of Englewood is my local service club dedicated to serving our community, its youth, and its underprivileged. Our fellowship and fundraising opportunities are varied and dynamic. We hold weekly lunch and evening meetings with informative speakers and programs. We are always seeking quality individuals committed to our community and mankind. Join me at our next meeting to see what a difference Rotary makes right here in Englewood and around the world.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Our next speaker is going to be Kathy Castellano.
You got it. All right. So I'm not very good at this, but I'm going to go for it. Okay. Are you interested in a new banking checkup? Let me introduce myself. Kathy Castellano, Senior Commercial Lender with Centennial Bank. Having a career in banking for 50 years and as a seasoned lender for 15 of them, my goal is to work with clients as a relationship banking partner to be part of an external team of advisors. If you're interested in hearing more about how I may assist and get that checkup, then give me a call, 941-650-5085. Kathy Castellano, your relationship banker.
Wonderful. Good. Thank you. Now, we had 2 different elevator speeches. Now, Kathy actually introduced herself, and she started off with a question that someone may want an answer to. And then she introduced herself and told what she did. Now, Deborah, you gave us a great presentation on Rotary, but I wasn't sure what your role was other than you were a member. And so if someone was going to find out and ask who you are, you would want to go ahead, and you could start with something talking about Rotary because that's what you want to share, but then tell us who you are, tell us maybe why you got involved in Rotary, and then just share a little bit. There was a lot of information there, which was really great. And that's one of the speeches that you would want to prepare. You could do a 1 to 2 minute speech on Rotary in that area. But focus on, if someone's asking who you are, let's make sure we tell them who you are and why you're interested in Rotary, and have them contact you so that you can give some more information. Okay? When you go to a networking event, and pretty soon we are going to be getting out together again to meet, I just want to go ahead and mention the point up here when we're talking about, you see I put on the screen here, number 1, address how you can solve a problem. Number 2, introduce yourself. Number 3, advise how they can get in contact with you. I wanted to share with you that some people, when they give their elevator speech, they end with a catchy tagline. Kathy had a tagline. But think about a plumber who would end his tagline with, when you flush, think of us. There might be an electrician who is talking to you about, do you have an electrical short in your house? Maybe the lights flicker. Maybe it's in the office and they flicker. He's going to end his presentation with a catchy phrase that says, we fix your shorts. If there's a realtor in the group, and I'm sure you have realtors in the group, I would say, please do not say, I'm a realtor, you know what I do. You want to buy or sell a house, just call me. We want more information about you. That's not really exciting. You need to put a little more buzz to it. So I know a lady realtor, when she gives a presentation, she usually talks about a particular piece of property that she has for sale, a listing. She might talk about a service that she provides. And at the end, she's going to say, I'll make it a moving experience. But she's addressed one particular area. So think about that when you're giving a speech, depending upon what's going on at that particular time. Maybe there's a special project or a special fundraiser that you're doing for Rotary. That might be something that you want to talk about. But let's look at when you're going to a networking event. What is your plan? Business is slow. Everyone is going to want to build up their business again, and you're going to have an opportunity to meet people. So what's the plan? We want to socialize, but there needs to be a plan. Maybe the idea is to hand out as many business cards as you can, or collect as many business cards as you can. If you collect business cards, don't just put them in the drawer. It's a waste of paper. Contact someone, do a follow-up call within 3 days. Maybe there is a particular contact, maybe there's 1 or 2 people that you know that are going to be at this particular event. You want to make sure that you connect with them. That's okay. You don't have to exchange business cards with everybody. There could be the fact that you want someone to introduce you to a particular person. It's always a good idea, if you have a particular contact in mind, you might include that in your elevator speech. And says, does anyone know, and this has happened before, does anyone know the president of such and such a company? I really want to talk to them because I think I can help them with the problem. And there may be 1 or 2 people in there that could introduce you on the phone or in person to the referral that you're looking for. Depends upon your audience, depends upon what you're promoting at that particular time. But the idea is to always to be attentive, to be present, and to ask questions. When you're in networking, you want to know, how can I help you? It's not always what you telling them, I can do this and I can do that. They might not be interested. So ask questions and listen more than you talk, so you know how you can help them. To become a better speaker, you have to speak. Now, speaking is not about perfection, it's more about connection. When we're talking about connection, it's like, what do we want to say? Who do we want to talk to? Now, when someone asks you to give a presentation, it's difficult to decide exactly what you're doing. But most of the time when we speak for 4 different reasons: to entertain, to inspire, to persuade, or to inform. Entertaining, it could be a humorous story. I know one lady that lives in your area. I think she's a realtor, Amy Hibbard. She was also a news reporter. She has some of the most amazing stories. They're all true, although sometimes they sound like a tall tale. Because she has met so many people, she's had such an interesting life, she always tells entertaining, humorous stories. But there may be inspiration. You all have some great projects that Rotarians do around the world, here in the United States and around the world, so you can give a speech that will inspire others to donate to your program, to volunteer in your program. You also might have a particular cause that you want to persuade people to think, say, and do differently after your speech. So you have to look at how do I want my speech to come across? Inform. Maybe you just want to tell people a little bit about a hobby or something else that you have, something that you're interested in. So think about those 4 reasons to give a speech. When you're looking for topics, when you look at the word topics itself, you can come up with T, stands for travel and talents. There's travel, places that you've been, places that you want to go. Your talents could be, you could be a musician, you could be play an instrument. What are some of the talents that you have? The O stands for opinions. We all have opinions. The important thing is to try to express our opinions without being argumentative. Usually at Toastmasters, we say you can't talk about politics or religion because they rile people up. In some Toastmasters clubs, that's exactly what they talk about. They want to be able to share opinions, but the idea is that you can disagree, but not be disagreeable. Let's look at the P. Talk about people that you know, people that you'd like to know, people in history. Talk about places. The I is for interest, whatever you're interested in, information. C, current events. Very interesting. Last night, we had one of our Toastmasters give a slide presentation on pandemics and the food supply. It was an interesting presentation, something that I wasn't aware of. And I'd like for you, if you're thinking about that, to go online and check out to see what zoonosis, Z-O-N-I-S-I-S. Find out what that word is, zoonosis. That is a source of pandemics. You can talk about stuff, anything, has something, someone, somehow, somewhere. Those are the different ways that you can look at creating a speech. As I said before, in order to become better at speaking, you just have to speak. Now, once you've decided what to say, you decide, I'm going to talk about this particular topic, begin with the end in mind. What do you want your audience to think, say, do, or feel differently after you've finished your speech? Do you want them to change their thought process? Do you want them to go out and share the message that you just shared? Do you want them to take some action? Do you just want them to have a good feeling after they've finished hearing your speech? So always begin with the end in mind. Now, it's your speech, but your audience is going to say, what's in it for me? What am I going to get out of this speech? The speech is going to have 3 major components: a solid structure, compelling content, dynamic delivery. The solid structure is based upon a basic outline of an open, a body, and a close. What I suggest when we're looking at the open, avoid cliches like, how's everybody doing tonight? You've heard that over and over again. Ideally, depending upon where you are, the person who's taking their time to listen to your speech They are using their valuable time. They want to get to the point. They want to know what's in it for me. So start with it. Start with your speech instead of saying, oh, thank you so much. I'm glad to be here tonight. Don't talk about the weather. Begin with your speech. Now, I say, some people would say, should you start with a joke? Only if the joke has something to do with the topic. Start with a question. You could use a you statement, like saying, did you, have you, were you, instead of saying, have any of you. If I say, have any of you, people are looking around in the audience like, not me. But if you say, have you, some might say, no, I haven't, or yes, I have. Have you been to Hawaii? Have you ever? Use those you-focused statements when you start. As I said before, if someone says, I want to share, your audience doesn't care what you want to share. They want you to share it. The body, when we're looking at the body, we're going to put together 2 to 3 topics, things that you're going to cover. Compelling content, what you say, how will your audience be affected by your message? What do you want them to take away from your message? Dynamic deliveries, how you say it. Use descriptive words instead of saying, oh, it was such a beautiful sunset last night. Describe the sunset. Or, before all this social distancing, as I was driving to Northport early one morning to take care of my grandkids, in my rearview mirror, I said, oh my gosh, what's coming up? There was a big ball of fire slowly rising up the horizon. And it was bright red, glowing. It was the sun. I couldn't believe how bright it was. Use some vocal variety and some pacing. How many times have you listened to someone talk and this is the tone of their voice and it just went on and all you wanted to do was to go to sleep because they were lulling you to sleep? Use some vocal variety. You don't have to be loud, but you do need to change the variety from time to time. Sometimes you talk fast, sometimes you talk slower. So make sure that you have some variety in your speech. Many times when you're writing a speech, it's important to put some of these notations in there. We're going to talk a little bit more about the speech in just a moment. As I said, start with a question, use a you-focused statement. You can share a mini story. Frequently, someone will share a story that's a basis for the body. You can start with a profound statement, such as, still, heart disease is the #1 killer. Or you might say, there are more people killed in automobile accidents every year that have died from the COVID-19. Start with some profound statement. I'm not exactly sure if that was true, but I believe it is. But start with the profound statements and do not say, I want to share. Please just go ahead and share. That's what they're waiting for. The body, depending upon the length of your speech. When you have, I already talked about the elevator speech, 30 to 40 seconds. And sometimes we have speeches at Toastmasters that are 1 to 2 minutes long. We have others that are 2 to 3 minutes long. Most of our speeches are 5 to 7 minutes long. But then we get into those that are a little more lengthy that can be 12 to 15 minutes long. Keynote speeches are usually going to be a half hour to an hour long. The longer the speech, the more points you can put into it. But you need to be able to address just enough information that people can absorb as they're going through it. Transition from one point to the other. And after you've typed up, prepared your presentation, read it out loud, say it out loud. Your speaking voice is different than your thinking and writing voice. What looks good on paper may not sound the way you want it to. You may need to go back and tweak it. The most famous speeches that you've heard were never written the first time around. The speech that was given by Martin Luther King, the one that we remember, was not the first time he said that. He had given that speech numerous times before, but that particular day, he was one of 16 presenters. His speech is the only one that's remembered from that day because he added emphasis to his speech. He added passion to it. If it's appropriate in your speech, cover the topics of who, What, when, where, why, and how. The close. The close is where you can recap the key points in your speech. During the close, if there's a particular action that you want someone to take, you can ask them to go ahead and take that action. But I want to express the importance of not ending with a question and answer. Many times people will give their speech, and at the end, they close their speech, and then they say, are there any questions? And people will ask questions that sometimes have nothing to do with your presentation. They seem to go off in a different area. If you have a particular time to give your presentation, if you have someone that's asking questions, you can go beyond that. Now, there may be an opportunity for you to have questions and answer if you think it's appropriate, but do it before you close your speech. You might also have in your audience 2 or 3 people that you've asked them to ask a particular question. You want to make sure that this question is answered in front of the audience. So that's seeding the audience with questions. It's not deceitful, but it is trying to get the information out there so you know that you have particular questions that someone might be thinking about that they can ask. So have someone else ask that question. Now, the close, you should always be the one closing the speech, because that's when you're going to give them the opportunity to listen and hear what your message is. What action do you want them to take? What I'd like to do now is to ask, I'm going to go ahead and close out this for just a minute. If I can do this, remove my cursor. Where am I? There you are. What I'd like to do is to ask, we had a couple other people that had indicated that they would be willing to give us a 1 to 2 minute speech. So I'd like to ask Alfred Current, would you be able to give us a 1 to 2 minute speech?
My wife said no.
Gale, he doesn't know 1 to 2 minutes, so.
Oh, okay.
Just 1 minute, and there we go. Gale, before I start, thank you. We appreciate you being with us tonight. That's awesome. Okay. I'm reminded of a story of a young person walking down the beach, tossing starfish back into the ocean after being washed ashore and left to dry and die in the downpour of sunlight. An older person walking towards the youngster remarked in jest that the efforts were futile since there was no way to save the hundreds of starfish. The youth, reaching down for another starfish, gazed up at the wrinkled face of the passerby, grabbed the next starfish, and gently placed it back into the safety of the ocean, saying, "It made a difference to this one." So it is with the Rotary Foundation. The dollar contributions may not be big. Well, the project's aimed at hundreds of beneficiaries at one time, but each dollar is important, and every project serves a needed purpose. My name is Alfred Current. I'm honored and humbled to serve as your District Rotary Foundation Chair. It's my pleasure and duty to help you in every way that I can to understand the Rotary Foundation and to effectively leverage it to better serve the human condition. Amen. Figured out working.
You add a special touch because you were starting to tell this story, and I thought, I think I've heard that story, but then you added how Rotary is touched by that, how Rotary connects. So I thought that was great. I really enjoyed that. Now, I think our next presenter speaker is going to be Tracy Hamill, correct?
Yes. What does it mean to be a Rotarian? Chances are this question, in one form or another, will pop up in a discussion between a Rotarian and someone who is thinking about becoming a Rotarian. Being a Rotarian means having the opportunity to experience the warm Rotary Fellowship, which can greatly expand one circle of acquaintance, foster lifelong friendships, and help one to do for their community that they might not have accomplished alone. Being a Rotarian means to be actively involved in the affairs and service projects of one's club. Rotarians look forward to ways to get involved. Rotarians demonstrate the strength of their commitment to Rotary in the service they render to their club, through their club to the community, and through the Rotarian Foundation to people throughout the world. Being a Rotarian is a way of life. It can be a satisfying, lifelong adventure for those who are willing to give of themselves to enjoy and benefit from all that Rotary has to offer. Thank you.
Wonderful, good, thank you, that's great. Now, I only gave a short time period because I knew that I had a long list of things I wanted to cover. But what you said there, Tracy, is also an opportunity where if you were given a longer presentation, you were doing 5 to 7 minutes, you could actually weave into that a particular project or a particular story, how Rotary has helped someone. That would make it more meaningful to the audience so they know what Rotarian's about. You basically gave a generic feeling, but in order to get someone who's really excited and wants to get involved in Rotary, if they've never been involved before and you want to touch their heartstrings, is to tell them a story about how either you or your Rotary club or another group in Rotary has touched the life of someone else. You can bring in, if you don't, maybe not use that particular person's name, their last name, because that might be confidentiality, but bring that in so someone knows how Rotary actually provides services to individuals in the community. But you did a good job there as far as telling about basically the information. So I really appreciate that. Well, I'm going to wrap this up, see if I can get back in to my slide sharing. It's what I want to do because now things are new. This is my first time sharing slides because it's a lot of us have seen that we've had to do some pivoting. We've had to change from being able to give a presentation in person to being able to do things on Zoom. Initially, when Tracy asked me, could you do this on our Zoom meeting? And my first thought was, egads, no, I can't do that. Because to me, this was a very interactive program. I gave a communications program last year to the 3 chambers. And what happened is you saw the pictures at the very beginning, I actually had attendees in the audience that demonstrated effective communication, ineffective communication. So I had 4 to 6 people that I pulled from the audience. I had one of our Toastmasters give a 5 to 7 minute speech. I had another Toastmaster that gave an evaluation so you could see what it was like to give an evaluation. Every person who walked into the room got a little slip of paper so they could participate in table topics. And then at the end, we had what was called the pungent preceptor, was questioning people as finding out how well did you listen. And when Tracy said, could you do this on Zoom? I said, let me think about it. So I had to do some quick changing as far as pivoting from one thing to another, come up with this slide presentation. And since then, I've attended several Zoom meetings. And I thought I could not end this communication presentation without talking about how do you show up in this new venue. The first thing is you need to show up, be on time. There are some Zoom meetings that if you're not there on time, they lock the room. Also, remember, when you come in, you should make sure you stay on silent unless you're doing the speaking, because of the fact that it's very difficult. It's one thing when you're in a room and we're used to chatting back and forth and everybody talking, but when it's on Zoom, it is really very distracting. And always join with video. And the reason I say join with video, people want to see. This is an opportunity for us to see other people who are talking. Don't ghost the meetings. Because when you're coming to a meeting, this is like, I want to know people here are present. They're listening to me. They're part of it. And ensure your face is visible, not just your eyes. Sometimes I know that means that you're going to have to adjust the computer. You have to adjust, maybe you have to put extra cushions in the seat that you're sitting in, something like that. But make sure that you do that so that it's visible. I also learned a couple other things when I was going through this. We're looking at lighting. Don't have a light behind you, because what happens when the light's behind you, even you could be in a room where you have the outside shine in. It means that you are in the shadow. The light is in the back, you're in the shadow. If you have a light, bright light on the side, it puts a lot of shadows on your face. And I would say, don't eat during an online meeting. Even though you usually get together, if you were in an in-person meeting, yes, you probably eat, you're listening, talking, but during an online meeting, that can be very distracting. Avoid the excessive movements back and forth like this, because other people are listening. And if someone is talking, they see the hand movements, they become distracted. If you have to leave, get up and move away from your desk. Do not turn the video off. I just learned this. If you turn the video off, you just briefly turn the video off, it changes your positioning on the screen. If you have to get up and leave for whatever reason, cover it up. You can use a sticky note or something like that to temporarily cover your screen. But if you go ahead and you click out of the video, you're leaving the meeting, when you come back on, everybody shifts around. So you might have a speaker, you might be looking at someone in one area, when they come back on, they've moved. So this is something else that I just learned when I was looking at some of the Zoom meetings frequently. One of the things that's important is become familiar with the Zoom meetings that you're on, or whatever platform. It's not Zoom. Most people now are on Zoom. However, there are a lot of other programs that are online now, which includes one of the things that was new to me was looking at a stream feed, looking at WebEx. There's also Skype. Some people have been doing Skype for quite a while. But become familiar with them as much as you can. Things are changing. There are always going to be some issues coming up. So I also say, be forgiving if everything does not go as smoothly online as you thought. This is a time to be kind to one another. Most of us have never done this before, but it's a learning experience. And I think as we go into the new normal, Zoom meetings, online meetings are going to be with us for the long term. We're all going to get better at them. We're all going to be learning new things. But in the meantime, let's be kind and be tolerant of one another. And a recap of the communication skills: talking and listening equals effective communication. If people are not listening, if we're not sharing the information back and forth, it's just yada, yada, yada. There's no effective communication. Be cognizant of how you communicate with others, verbally and non-verbally. Look at the 30 to 40 second elevator speech. Whenever you're introduced, focus on the other person. What do they want? What's important for them to know about you? Try to find something that you can solve. Kathy was great on that when she talked about how she can solve a need. Networking success: anytime you get together with a group of people, think about how you can be successful personally and professionally. Think about how you can help someone else. Think about why you want to speak. If you're asked to give a presentation, what's the focus of your speech? Is it to entertain? Is it to persuade? Think with the end in mind. What do you want people to think, say, do, or feel differently after they hear your speech? We talked a little bit about how you can select speech topics, talked about the speech structure, the open, the body, and the close. The open, start with a dramatic open, get their attention so they will be prepared to listen to everything else that you have to say. When you're going through the body, there might be something there that sounds great, but it really doesn't fit with the topic. take it out, because that could be the basis for another speech. Make sure that you're concise and consistent with your speech. When you come to the close, wrap it up. Tell them what you covered. Make sure that you have a clear call to action if that's what you want. And also remember the online venue. How can you be effective during an online venue? That is a new communication skill. Now, Englewood Toastmasters is currently meeting online through Zoom, but hopefully we will be able to return to the meeting room at Englewood Chamber of Commerce. They have a beautiful community room there. We were able to meet there probably about 4 times before the social distancing came into effect, but they have been in touch with us. And I know that as soon as they are able to let people use their community room, we're going to be using that, and definitely want to have as many Rotary members participate as possible. Because I know that you have received information from Rotary International about 2 of the programs that Toastmasters International has prepared specifically for Rotarians. They're very basic, but I know from experience that Toastmasters will work with Rotary to provide more extensive programming in the future. But if you'd like to go ahead and get started learning more about speaking skills and leadership skills and how you can polish those, call me, Gale West, text me, 941-380-3162. Toastmasters is near you. If you have family members someplace else and they're interested in improving their communication and leadership skills, have them go to toastmasters.org, click on Find a Club. Virtually all the clubs around the world are on Zoom. And we have an opportunity through Toastmasters to connect with Toastmasters groups around the world in Japan, Germany, France. It's a wonderful opportunity that we would not have had otherwise. So thank you for listening. I have shared this PowerPoint presentation with Tracy. If you'd like a copy of that you can refer back to later. I'm so excited that Rotary is in our community, that there's an alliance. This is unique because Toastmasters started in 1924. This is the first time they've ever done anything like this. And the idea is that we have 2 great organizations that are serving people around the world that are coming together to share their experiences, to share their talents. So I appreciate the opportunity, Tammy and Julie, for being able to share today.
Thank you, Gail.
Thank you very much. I think that was great.
Thank you.
And for those of you who don't know, I'm unmuting people. Toastmasters and Rotary are doing a partnership together so that to cross-train each other and get more familiar with each other. So I hope everyone will take advantage of that and reach out and get to do that. Rotary is the same way. Once you're a Rotarian, you can participate with Rotary clubs all over the world. So it's a good opportunity to get to know. Does anyone have any questions for Gale? No? Okay. Does anyone have any other business to bring before the group? Alfred?
Gale, would you have any interest if we may at some time in the future to do a collaborative effort with the Rotary Club of Englewood and Toastmasters and maybe sponsor some type of a, I don't know what we call it, a speech contest?
Oh, absolutely.
To do,
Yeah.
and something that maybe we could implement with our children's program, with our Rotary Kids or Interact clubs, that kind of thing in the community, and you know, award some prizes and bring out the best of those guys speaking.
Yes, in fact, we have a speechcraft program that is about 6 weeks long that we can use for adults, but also have used it for children. And I used that a couple years ago for, there were about 8 kids who were in high school, and they were the 11th grade,
And one of the young men who participated in that said he was so excited to be there because they have to give speeches. They would have to give their little speeches, and they would participate in table topics. And he was going for college interviews. And during his second speech, he gave a talk, and I asked the other young people, I said, what did you hear out of his speech? And so they just said something. I said, did you hear the word interrogation? Because he went for an interview, the college, and it wasn't just one-on-one. There were 3 people asking him questions, and he felt as if it was an interrogation. At the end of the presentation, he said he was so excited that he'd gone through Toastmasters because now he says they cannot ask him any question that he can't answer. And part of that was because of the fact that we do table topics, and we just give you a topic and you have 30 seconds to come up with a way to respond with 1 to 2 minutes. And he said that really prepared him for interviews. So yes, I'd be more than happy. I'd love to go ahead and put something together with you.
Very good. Any other questions, thoughts, comments? Well, Gail, thank you so much. I'm glad this worked out, and I'm glad you were able to Zoom with us.
Thank you so much.
I'll be happy when we can do all this in person, because it does lose something over the wire.
Yes, it does.
If there is no other business, I would like to shift to the 4-way test. Let's see. Jen Stanton, would you like to lead us in the 4-way test? She's like, no. It's on the screen. I'll share right in front of you. Now, would you like to share?
Oh, yes. And years and years ago, I did attend a couple Rotary meetings. So, but yes.
Yeah, do it. The 4-way test are the things we think, say, or do. First,
Is it the truth?
Second,
Is
it
it
fair all concerned?
third,
Will it
build goodwill and better friendships?
Fourth, will it
be
be beneficial to all
concerned?
That make it less painful?
No, I'm so shy. I don't like getting up and talking in front of people.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like you need Toastmasters.
Yes, absolutely.
Sarge.
Yeah. All right, guys. If nobody has any other business, I will close out tonight. Thank you for all getting together. And we will keep you informed. I hope to see a bunch of you on Thursday, different parts of the day, and look forward to seeing everybody's face in person at some point.
Awesome.
We'll get there.
Question.
Okay.
Ken has a question.
Yes. Did Ken?
He froze.
He froze.
He froze.
I'll follow up with Ken. Ken, are you there? Did you have a question?
My question was, did you record this and where can somebody see it, review it?
I recorded it, and we now are the proud owners of a YouTube channel. And I learned today how to create a hyperlink and email it. So 2 learns in 1 week.
Awesome.
Yeah.
My next step will be learning how to video edit. We'll take that one slow. So I will send an email out with the link so that you could share this. So please share it with friends. If there's anyone who is interested in Toastmasters or Rotary, that would be awesome to share so that they can get involved and we can keep in touch with them. Thanks, guys. Everyone have a great night.
Bye, everyone.
Good to see you, Lisa.
Thank
Happy
you.
Memorial Day weekend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Thank you.